what's some of your favorite companion plants? This is, so I had some notes, so guys help me on this episode on the back end. That was actually one of the questions. So I'm glad you walked into that.
No, it's funny. Cause like, it's one of the things I'm most known for right now is my cover crops and stuff. And I remember, the first time I've seen my buddy Brad, who I keep mentioning, my partner, he sent me, Matt Davenport's Instagram. Like, I think it was like 12 years ago, 11 years ago. And it was a pot, cannabis plant in a pot, and it had, clover. And I remember, like, my initial thought was, that is the dumbest, most lazy thing I've ever seen. Why are those guys let this fucking nutrients, those clovers clearly stealing nutrients, his NPK from his cannabis plant? And I thought it was so stupid. And now I'm kind of like, yeah, you can't really.
You're known for it. I look at a photo and I'm like, look how beautiful. Look at the cover crop.
But how I do it is like, I mean, like, so like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Tad from Kiss Organics. Me and him, we have, conflicting, opinions on certain things. Like he's anti-companion plants. He just thinks it's too much work and too much risk, you know, and he's not wrong. All the things he says about companion plants are 100% right. And if you don't listen to what he says about companion plants to take into consideration, you're only going to prove him 100% right. But I just took a different look at it. You know, the same things that most people saw as problems, I saw as solutions. And I kind of use like a jujitsu mindset, where
the downfalls would be what though? Just to interrupt, the downfalls would be bugs.
Potential.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pathogens.
Potential. Yep.
Obviously no cross-pollination or issues with pollen, you know. It's mostly pathogens,
just the maintenance of certain plants.
Okay.
And like over the years, like you if you go on our page, you'll see like we tried certain things at certain times, and you don't see them in our garden no more. Just because there's just too much work to maintenance. You know, like mint is something I still use to this day, but it's something you got to stay on top of. You can't just plant mint in your beds and come back 6 months later and expect it to be where you left it. It's going to be everywhere.
It's like a vine.
Yeah, it's very invasive. You know, so it has a little the roots that it grows underground, shoots up.
Day 65, you walk in, you're like, smells like mint.
Yeah, but we use it again. Like, so how I use companion plants, so the same problems that people see, how it can attract bugs, this and the other thing. When you look into a regenerative farming thing, they use it for banker plants, for trap plants. So they use it to, okay, this plant attracts bugs. Cool. I'm going to plant it at the corner of my garden. And I'm going to get all the bugs to go there, versus my cash crop. So that's kind of how I apply the mindset in indoors is, cool. I have my base cover crop is a dichondra. Elaine Ingham at Scott Granola kind of brought that one when I worked with him. It's a basic, I use that as a ground cover. It's not really, it doesn't contribute. It's not a nitrogen fixer. It never goes to flower. The reason I like it because it's a living green mulch, and that not a lot of bugs really like it. Like thrips don't really dig it. Spider mites, nothing really wants to eat dichondra. I mean, shit'll linger a little bit, but nothing wants to eat dichondra. It's not their favorite meal. So I use that as my ground cover for my green mulch. And then I use trap plants and companion planting, for part of my IPM. So like wintertime, I'll go heavy with the mint, because mint deters rats. And where we're at every wintertime, all these rats from outdoors start running indoors. First year this happened to us, it created some serious problems. You know, what we're organic, we can't just be pouring rat poison everywhere.
Yeah.
So we tried doing rat traps, and rats are smart as hell. And eventually we said, you know, I just started Googling stuff, what plants, you know, deter rats, and it was mint. So I started planting mint in my beds and haven't had a rat problem in like 5-6 years now.
That could even parallel, like I keep saying parallel, but that could even do outside. I mean, if you have issues around your house with rats, I mean, if you start to plant mint, that's a great.
So I recommend it. I have personal experience. It worked great for us. Then I use I had a root feeding nematode problem. I was buying some compost from a guy, and he gave me root feeding nematodes, and it sucked. Before I knew how to compost myself, and I had to figure it out. I didn't really. Everybody's solution is throw your soil away, throw your soil away. I'm like, no, this soil is going to outlive me. Like I'm going to die, and this soil is still going to be fucking producing dank. Watch. So that wasn't an option for me. So I just got on Google and just started looking. Like, there's a reason root feeding nematodes don't rule the world. You know, what is it? You know, like what can't they eat? And I started learning about brassica plants and how they have a biotoxin. French marigolds produce a biotoxin. I can't say it off the top of my head, but it's a biotoxin that kills nematodes basically. And I did a little side-by-side test where I had 4 pots. I did a control pot. I had 3 different pots. One had marigolds, one had a composted brassicas, and then one had planted live brassicas in it. And I wanted to see which ones over time got rid of the root feeding nematodes. I ran this for about 3 cycles. I had success in all 3 of the pots to some degree, but the marigolds, the French marigolds, had the best results as far as they didn't damage my good nematode population as much as the root feeding for some reason.
So when you kill, you kill.
Yeah. So like when I made the Nebraska compost, it seemed to wipe out like a lot of everything. But as far as nematodes, but then when I did just the marigolds, I was still finding the occasional beneficial nematode that wasn't root feeding, and in my root feeding population, nematodes just dropped tremendously. So then at that point, I started planting marigolds, and then.
Absolutely gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah.
Like besides the functional use, like one of the coolest visions in a garden. I mean, you gotta go online right now as you're listening to this and go at Green Life Productions. I hope you know how to spell productions if you're listening to this, and check out, because one of the prettiest gardens. Like if you're a grower and you just love plants, or if you're the person that goes to the farmer's market and you have a passion for this, I mean, dude, to see the flowers in bloom while the flowers are in bloom.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite things to walk into for sure. And then they add to the aroma of the room too. So you walk in, you can smell the floor, the flower, and all the different terpenes from the cannabis. It's pretty overwhelming at times. But yeah, so I introduced the marigolds to our garden as part of one of our main companion plants. But then beyond that, I learned it's not just about like what you use, it's how you use it and where you place it.